Welcome to the TSD Mindfulness recording of the fourth teaching, Logic and Survival Instinct Cannot Wholeheartedly Be Trusted. All right, this is a really important teaching, so please pay attention, take some notes. This is a real keystone to the TSD mindfulness practice. So again, logic and survival instinct cannot wholeheartedly be trusted. So culturally, logic and instinct are accepted as being quite valid in today's world, right? It's very revered. Logic is very revered in our culture. Instinct is very revered in our culture. As children, we are taught to rely on logic to solve problems, and survival instinct has proven to keep our species alive. Right? What's more, logic and instinct really do work. So a lot of times approaching a situation in a logical way is the best thing to do. You get some really great consequences, outcomes when you do that. And instinct, if we are in the middle of the street and a truck is coming and it's our instinct to just run and get out of the way, it saves our life. It really does work. However, and this is the big however, logic and instinct are not usually effective approaches to making decisions when it comes to relationships. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Logic and instinct are not usually effective approaches to making decision when it comes to relationships. And I'll break that down, and not just in this teaching, but many of the teachings to follow. But for a moment, take a second here to consider why that might be. Why might logic not be the best way to approach a relationship with someone who's close to you? Why might not going with your gut instinct be the best approach to working out a relationship to somebody you're close to? So I'll give you a hint. It has to do with distraction, right? So this practice is about moving your consciousness into your heart, your authenticity, your deep emotions, and we'll get more into what all of that is. But being in that place is the best place to be to create and experience a true connection with someone. And if we're in a logical frame of mind, we're using logic to problem solve, then we're really not truly in our heart. We're not with those deeper emotions. It's not logical. That the experience deep in the heart is not a logical process. If we are going based on instinct, which has a lot to do with your fight or flight responses, you're not truly in your heart. You're not truly with those deep emotions of gratitude, love, pain, hurt, which are what is going to create that close connection with you in relationship. But our gut, our instinct can kind of pull us away from that. We might fear having that intimate connection. We might fear feeling pain. And those are just a few examples of how the instinct might get in the way of really being and creating these authentic relationships and being in the heart. So to genuinely improve relationships, we need to move away from using logic and instinct to guide us. And we'll go over how that works. The chief reason for letting go of logic and instinct while practicing TSD mindfulness is to move our consciousness into our hearts. So like I said, during the day in our jobs, we need to use logic, but when you are learning to meditate, especially with this TSD mindfulness meditation practice, I'm really asking you to let go of logic, let go of reacting on instinct as a way to support your moving your consciousness into your heart. So logic is what drives our mind, and therefore, if we let it go, we easily move in our consciousness out of our mind and into our heart. And one of the most effective ways of moving our consciousness into our heart field is to quiet our logic while practicing TSD mindfulness, which we'll start practicing today using single-pointed focus. Survival instinct is what drives our gut. And therefore, if we let it go, we easily move our consciousness into our heart and out of that gut we refer to as the gut field. One of the most effective ways to move our consciousness out of our gut field is to soothe and reassure our gut, which in turn quiets our instinct. Logic and survival instinct cannot wholeheartedly trusted. So that means, yes, sometimes it can, but there's sometimes where it's actually not the best course to follow the logic or the instinct. So when we're meditating, we let go of all the logic, all the instinct. We're not going to sit there in our meditation and discern between, oh, is this a logic I should trust? Or is this a logic I shouldn't trust? Is this an instinct I should follow? Or is this instinct I shouldn't follow? We're not going to go into all that like decision process during our mindfulness meditation. Instead, we're just going to let it all go. Have you ever noticed your mind lead you into a way of thinking that was not helpful to you or the people in your life? And so if you think about it, logic is what brought you to that way of thinking. Logic is, well, if person is in situation A, then they should do B, right? This conditional kind of thinking. The logic might not have been justified or gracious, but it was logical. So that's something to be aware of about logic is not always good. It's not always about what's best for everybody. Sometimes it's actually not very good. Logic is not bound to supporting our highest interest or our highest good. Logic is not synonymous with good, which is something that sometimes is found in our culture. Sometimes logic is like all logic is good. And that's not necessarily true. And I'll explain to you why. Revenge is logical. Revenge is based on conditional thinking. If someone did this to me, then I'm going to do this back to them. Blame is also logical. If this is what this person did, then it is their fault. That it's a very logical process to blame someone. Kindness can be logical. If someone does this for me, then I, in return, need to be kind to them. Gratitude can be logical. If someone does this for me, then I need to be thankful to them. But isn't gratitude and kindness better when it comes from the heart? It's not based on conditions. It's just, you know what? I just feel this. This is just how I feel in this moment. I feel kindness for this person. I feel gratitude for this person or for this aspect of my life. So TSD practice is a process of moving away from that conditional thinking and those behaviors. So we'll talk about that more in later teachings. So again, logic is sometimes valuable and sometimes not, so it can't wholeheartedly be trusted. Survival instinct works the same way. Our instinct can certainly keep us out of harm's way, and in some cases save our lives. However, sometimes our instinct can steer us away from something that will really help us. So an example might be standing in front of a crowd and giving an important speech. You have these butterflies in your stomach, and those butterflies are your guts, your nervous system's reaction to your own bravery, right? And if we really listen to that, we might walk off the stage and leave. But being on that stage and speaking might be what's the best thing for us. So that's an example of when that gut reaction isn't actually supporting us for our highest good. Another example is the anxiety you might feel before you make yourself vulnerable to your romantic partner. Again, this is your gut's reaction, these fears coming up about being vulnerable. And if we truly followed that and closed up and didn't open up to our partner, then that wouldn't be a good course of action to take. And so we kind of need to not listen to our instinct in those situations and instead go through the discomfort and be vulnerable. Survival instinct is sometimes valuable and sometimes it's not. Survival instinct is sometimes valuable and sometimes it's not. And so it cannot wholeheartedly be trusted. So that's why during our TSD mindfulness practice, we set an intention to let go of following instinct and really soothing our gut. TSD mindfulness helps us navigate our logic and instinct that falls in those gray areas when we're having difficulty discerning between. And so that would be more during the day when you're not meditating. You'll see how that plays out. When practicing TSD mindfulness, you will find clarity on these subtle areas of your life, which in turn will improve your relationships and the people with the people and the things in your life. This is the conclusion of teaching number 4 of the TSD Mindfulness Teachings.